Hello, world. Welcome to Pardon the Politics podcast, season 2, episode 13. And that 13 is not going to be unlucky. This is going to be
This is
a
gonna be a
good
good one, man.
episode. It's going to be a good episode. Welcome to another episode of Pardon the Politics. I am your co host, Jeezy, along with, as always, my brother and my partner in politics, Manny. My brother, what's good? Or what ain't?
I mean, things. Look, I got a new smoker yesterday,
Hey,
so
hey.
it's going solid. But we're in the middle of the pollinating here in North Carolina.
Oh,
If you're
bruh.
unfamiliar with the pollinating, we just got a whole bunch of tree sex just flying around, messing up everyone's allergies.
Bruh, I normally allergies don't bother me. My wife has asthma, so of course, pollen season can be terrible for her. But I was in Maryland last week, and man, I was having like these sneezing fits, and my eyes were watering, and I didn't realize, it just didn't dawn on me that the season was here, because allergies have never bothered me. I've never had to worry about taking any Claritin or Zyrtec. I've been able to I could ride with the windows down during pollen season, wouldn't bother me. The other day, bro, I was on the phone with one of my homies, and I had to get off the phone because I could not stop sneezing. Like
Stuck up
after
on you.
every couple of words, I was and I was like, "Yo, what is this?" And I said, "Is it because I'm getting older that my system can't fight off the pollen like it used to?" Or for our tinfoil hat community,
Uh-oh.
I ain't even gonna cue it up this early. Is there something going on in the pollen that we don't know about?
I think M. Night Shyamalan did an entire movie about
Oh,
this.
bro, it was. It got me thinking. I watched this movie for this past week called Dark Waters, about DuPont and their scandal of putting the chemicals in the water for Parkersburg, West Virginia.
Yep.
And now I'm definitely thinking about going on Amazon and getting me like a legit tinfoil hat.
Right.
Or for when we have these conversations, because there's a lot of craziness going on. But man, yeah, the pollen has definitely been pollinating in North Carolina. So please make sure you get your Zyrtec, your Claritin, or your medicine of choice to battle through the season. But with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and kick off the episode, man. I'm ready.
Yeah. Let's hop right into it.
As I'm sure all of our listeners know, that this past week has been very exciting, because we had ourselves a good old breach in national security.
Is it still considered a breach if you do it?
Hey, bro, that's a good question. Is it a breach if I open the door? Is that really
And people
a breach?
come in like,
Was that like a voluntary security invite? Like,
is it trespassing if I was invited here? I don't know.
bro, that is crazy. Manny, that's a good point, because I don't know if you can consider that a breach. You definitely invited the man in, but we're gonna, for the sake of news, we're gonna say that it's a security breach, since that's what everybody is calling it, or some people are calling it.
Right.
But there was a significant security breach that occurred within the U.S. government when an unauthorized disclosure of sensitive military information via the encrypted messaging app Signal. Shout out to Signal, because they've been getting some free publicity this week, man. But in this incident, it has been called Signalgate. I love in America when there's a scandal or there's something.
We're gonna put a gate on
We're
it.
gonna throw a gate on it every single time. But in this, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz accidentally added Jeffrey Goldberg, who is the editor-in-chief at The Atlantic, to a Signal group chat, which was intended for top-level discussions on Yemen. And this error exposed strategic deliberations and military plans to an unintended recipient. So, first of all, I just gotta know. There's some aspects of this that I need to know. When did he get added, and how long did it take for somebody to realize, hey, who's this person in here with the letters AG?
That is because we'll share for the pod.
Yeah.
Both Jeezy and I, we use Signal
Yeah. Yes, we do.
for our communication with our friends in our group
Mm-hmm.
chat, and I like Signal. We've been using Signal
Oh yeah,
for years now. At this point,
yeah, I think cause we made the change from group. We felt that we needed something that was more secure.
so we've been on Signal for a while, and
Yeah.
here's the part that gets me. Anytime anyone gets added to the group chat,
Oh yeah.
that notice goes out to everybody.
Everybody, bro.
So did
Not
he
only
get,
that, man. Hold on. Not only that, even if you change
you change your
phones,
screen name?
if you change your screen name, I remember trying to add Signal to my laptop, and I had to go through a whole so it's very. I'm gonna say secure. Maybe not secure for top level information. We'll get to that later. But yeah, there's a lot of things that Signal isn't just like WhatsApp or group chat for those of you who don't use Signal. And then and I just want to say this before you continue. Please, if you don't use Signal, don't start. Because we've already been through this before. Drake said it in a song about Signal, and everybody was like, "Ooh, what's Signal? Stop." Drake said it. The next thing we know, they started adding stories to the Signal. I'm like, yeah, see, no, we don't need that.
Take that over there to group me.
Take that over there. Yep, the Snapchat, WhatsApp, or group me. But this is not what Signal's for.
Not for.
But go ahead, brother.
But I'm like, okay, so it notifies everyone. So the only way I could have missed seeing this. Is if he was added at the inception of the chat.
Yeah. So, he had to be there at the start.
And it could be somebody we knew. Just looking at how we operate our group chat, it could be somebody we all know. And we're going to be like, why are you here?
Yep.
Who invited you into this conversation? So did everyone... Let's also talk about the purposes of group chat. Not only, I would say, I won't say it is specific to our group chat, but I would say friend group chats everywhere. They are a mechanism of self-associated disaster. That's what they are.
Yep.
We've all said something wild to one of our friends in our group chat.
Yep.
But everyone takes the oath when joining the group chat.
Yep.
That we are ducks, and ducks will fly together.
Yep.
So I don't get how he got added.
Yeah, I don't get that either. I also don't
get how no one else noted that he got added. If every group chat that I'm added in, before I respond to the first message, I'm just going to see who all here.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing Black folks is serious about.
who all over there
before we do anything?
Who gonna be there?
So that's where my confusion starts with this. Is like, ain't nobody say. I mean, hold on. Maybe that's why Tulsi never responded in the chat. She said, bro, "I don't know all these numbers."
Hey,
I ain't got nothing to say.
I ain't even go front. I know Tulsi gets a lot of flack, but I ain't gonna lie to you. She kept it 100 in them hearings, bro. She was like, "Look, I ain't saying whether I'm in there or not, bro. We see
your name was on the list.
We see your name on the list. We see TG. She said, "Hey, look, I don't know what you're talking about. You're gonna have to refer to somebody else." And even if it was me, as you can clearly see, I didn't say anything to nobody. It came out the next day. She was like, well,
I didn't even realize I was there.
I didn't even realize I was there. I guess I was there. But again, I hadn't got nothing to do to me. I would refer your questions to someone else. I said, "Oh yeah, she been here before.
She knows how this goes."
She's the type of woman that keeps a secret.
Which is good for the director of intelligence.
Oh, exactly.
Like, okay,
I like that you move that way. I like that you move that way.
But also, like, why I feel good from the decision of like, oh yeah, we're using the same apps as the federal government. Why?
Bruh, that was my initial thought Wait a minute. Now, for those of you that are listening, when we have our signal chat, and we are not spreading, so that because I know that the current administration is on their propaganda wave. We ain't spreading no propaganda. We ain't planning nothing crazy. We just like the app. Why do I have the same access to an app that our
Why?
top government officials
Why?
are using, and they're talking about, I would consider, serious information. Now, there's been a lot of this discussion back and forth. Oh, there was nothing classified that was discussed.
Uh,
Look classified to me.
do we need to revisit what the definition of classified is?
We obviously must need to, because I don't understand how you're talking about the weapons that are going to be used, where the strike is going to happen, how the strike is going to
The
go about,
times.
the time. Yeah, like I think I saw a commentator make this comment, which was, what in my opinion I thought was spot on, is that what if this information got out before the strike happened?
Right.
Luckily, this information leaked after the fact, but think about what could have happened if it was leaked before, and what the implications of it. And they said, oh, well, we should be, instead of worrying about this breach, or this information, we should be celebrating that it was a successful strike. Okay, yeah,
We
but
can
it was
worry
also
about two things at the same time.
bingo. Like, okay, yeah, I'm glad that it worked out, but we still need to address the fact of, why did this even happen in the first place? And that's the thing, that this exposure to this sensitive information, to someone, that isn't in this intelligent hub, I will say, and this need to know, that leads me to believe how much more information is being discussed in a very unsecure way.
Right. If this is, you got to know that there's probably at least 4, 5, 6 other of these group me chats, and at
Oh
least one
yeah.
of them is for memes.
Oh
I
yeah.
gotta assume that there's at least one group chat for memes.
Yeah.
But what else y'all talking about on Signal?
I
Now,
seen I seen somebody say that they were making a joke that the reason they use Signal is because they can communicate without Donald Trump, because I know he ain't got Signal on his phone.
bruh,
If he
man,
got a cell phone, well, yeah, he got a cell phone, because he be tweeting his
he be
tail off.
tweeting.
That's the only app he got on his phone. It's one thing: the flashlight,
Twitter.
the calculator, and
He got
Twitter.
Twitter and what you call it, Truth Social.
Yep, True Social. That's it.
So,
He even deleted the phone app. He ain't even calling nobody. He just got them 4 apps on the bottom of his iPhone. That's it. But yeah, man.
but
Go ahead.
I'm confused. Like, there's not a better option.
It gotta be.
I would hope dearly. I would hope
Yeah.
that there would be a better way for officials to be able to communicate in real time.
Yeah.
It's almost like the White House needs its own room for these discussions. Like, they could call it the Situation Room. I think that'd be a good name for the room, if they to have these conversations. Or it's real sloppy.
It's real sloppy, and I understand that the individuals that were in this group chat, minus Goldberg, were, I believe they said, like, at the time, Tulsi was overseas, and I believe there was one other official that might have been in Russia taking care of some business, or like. So then that conversation came. With first of all, I think that if we're talking about a strike, that conversation, it can happen in the Situation Room, and why couldn't the details of that have been laid out while we sat there? I don't think that there's the follow up is kind of weird. I don't know if that's how government works, but the follow up just seems weird. Like, I know we do that at work. If we talk about something and say we're going to execute it, yeah, I'm gonna send you an email saying, like, yeah, it's plane's been executed, everything's a go. But I don't know if that's how this necessarily should be handled. Like if I tell you, hey Manny, we're gonna go eat in 2 weeks. We're gonna plan to take the family and the kids to go to eat at a restaurant. Yeah, I'll text you and say, okay, yeah, the reservation is good. We're gonna meet at this time. But I don't know if when you're talking about a strike on Yemen to the Houthis, that this is something that you got to talk about over a app. You know,
Right.
and then even to that point, was it on personal phones?
Well, and that's the point that I was getting ready at, because to my knowledge of how Signal works is it goes through your phone, through the
Yeah, yeah,
Wi-Fi or cell phone connections, meaning it's not saying it's open to the network, but it is going live across systems. So if
yes,
someone were to intercept it,
yeah,
and if someone were able to unencrypt it,
yeah,
like you're in a situation, because again, back to what you said, the first messages about the strikes went out about 31 minutes before, but the second wave of strikes that they were talking about happened 2 hours afterwards. So that's
ooh,
plenty of time for people to move
yeah,
people and personnel out the way
yeah.
or prepare to intercept.
Well, when I think about that, if you know, I don't know if it's been cleared up whether these were on personal or government phones or devices or what have you. But now, what does this open as far as the risk of cybersecurity that could be opposed on the United States? Because could hackers now say, wait a minute, they're using Signal? Like if they're using this, what ways can we, get into some of these systems, these networks, and get some of the information? Because if they're comfortable with talking about this in a group chat, what other sensitive information could we now tap into to see what is going on and what can be taking place, and how can we use that against them, whether it be in war, whether it be in strikes, or we already have multiple conflicts going on overseas. How can we possibly hack some of these systems and get some of this sensitive data and information?
Well, it happened not even too long after that. A report came out of the EU that a bunch of U.S. officials' logins and stuff had been discovered online.
Oh, bro,
So, like, yeah, we got to tighten up. Like,
bro,
this is
we
not a good look. This
it's
is
not a it's not a good look at all.
completely separate about what we were actually doing. Like, because there's a whole debate around that. But I'm like, we're just talking about bare minimums we are failing to execute on.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
I think that when you take this, and so far we've been how many days in the administration?
one
We
hundred
haven't made 90
twenty-five
days. Oh,
thousand 658.
we hadn't quite met the probation period. It hadn't been. I don't think it's quite been
That
90
90
days.
days.
I don't think it's been quite 90 days, but we're seeing that yet again. Here's something that's fallen short. We've seen how they fallen short with the cuts, and
Hmm.
how they've done things with cutting and defunding and not realizing that it's tied to this and tied to that. That was a disaster. Now you have what seems to be top information, top sensitive classified information being talked over an app, and that somehow got somebody in that wasn't supposed to be there. And what I thought about was, as much as they criticized Biden and his administration, we didn't have this problem. This wasn't something that was a reoccurring situation. And, when you think about the response to this, of course, Trump downplayed it. He downplayed the incident and expressed his continued confidence in the national security system, in the national security team, excuse me. He stated that he would not fire any officials over the incidental leak. But there has been calls for accountability over this breach, and that which I was surprised to see, and glad to see.
I mean, because you just can't let this slide.
Yeah,
Like, this is a little bit too egregious. Like, even just from a raw base
yeah.
personnel rules, like, it can't slide cleanly.
Yeah, you can't just let that just go by. So I was very glad to see that there was a bipartisan call for investigations, and that there was bipartisanship when it came to raising questions on the use of unclassified messaging apps like Signal for discussing sensitive information. So I was glad to see that. I think that one thing with the Trump administration, it's crazy how and it seems to be on brand for Trump and his administration, is that there's a problem. We act like the problem didn't happen. But then if it did happen, it isn't that serious. And then for you pointing out that that they did something wrong, somehow now you're wrong.
You're the problem.
I don't get it. But I wanna play you something.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do this for our 10-4 hat community. So go ahead and get your hats on.
Here we go. Where's my
put
key?
Your hats on.
Where's my key?
You unlock this door with the key of imagination.
We gonna unlock this door with that key of imagination. But I want to play you a clip that I believe came from Mike Waltz, who was responsible for this happening in the first place. So let's take a look at what he said.
How did a Trump-hating editor of The Atlantic end up on your Signal chat?
You know, Laura, I'm not a conspiracy.
He's not a what?
He's not a what?
Theorist, but of all the people out there, somehow this guy who has lied about the president, and he's the one that somehow gets on somebody's contact and then gets sucked into this group.
How's the number on your phone?
Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then then somehow it gets sucked in.
Oh, okay.
What?
What are you saying?
Right, I'm not commenting on my relationship with.
And this is Mike Goldberg.
But
yeah, this is for our listeners. Sorry, this is Goldberg responding to what Waltz has said.
Like he was flailing and performing for the president, obviously, and I think the White House is very concerned. Laura, you could speak to this, obviously. I think the White House is trying to figure out if anybody in there has been disloyal by talking to me or others about these kind of issues. I just want to note for the record that I did not suck my phone number.
Wait.
Pause.
Pause.
Into his phone. There is an explanation for why my phone number was in Mike Waltz's phone. And very frequently in reporting, we find out that the obvious explanation.
Bruh. All I'm going to say, first of all, for the conspiracy, that his number somehow magically got into the... But I want to point out why this is so funny. And I think that this is something that we see that is a very familiar path that is taken with Trump, his base, and those that support him. A lot of them probably never heard of Signal.
First time. The only signals that they know are at the
are those rabbit ears on the back of their TV,
right? or that light thing outside the Piggly Wiggly.
Yep. But they don't know anything about Signal. So here you have someone that is trying to spin a narrative that somehow his number got under the wrong contact and got put in the group that you created. Bro, Signal don't work that way.
At all.
It don't work that way. We know that, obviously, but I guarantee you that a vast majority of his base, his supporters, they don't know that. And also probably don't understand how technology works. So if somebody tells me that, this is like talking to your 80-year-old grandma and trying to convincing her that something of like this happened, she would believe it because she don't know jack squat about technology. Oh yeah, I can see that because they always doing that stuff and AI and whatever.
Man, the two things, and you mentioned AI, so we can't let this go. You know what? Jeez. I think I need. I think I need that key of imagination.
I got you, brother.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination.
All right, so hey, tinfoil hat community, I'm here. So it came up. It first pointed out to me. Mm-hmm. Via some TikToks that people had sent to me, asking what I thought about it. And they were talking about Pete Hegseth's communications.
And
some of it looks real weird.
Bruh.
And I was like, you're right.
It do look weird.
It do look weird.
Yep.
There is a theory that is being floated around right now
Yep.
that, look, I can't prove nor disprove it. But they are denoting that it looks like Pete Hegseth has run these conversations through ChatGPT.
Bruh.
And the key one is that old double hyphen.
Bruh, yes.
People's like,
I ain't never seen nobody use the double hyphen on their own, bruh.
I've never had a reason to use it in real writing.
Yep.
I've never had to use it to send anyone a message.
Nope.
I don't even know how you make that happen on a Mac or an iPhone.
Don't either. So the fact that he did this in a group chat on his phone is wild, bro.
But I'm almost certain that you have to. There's at least 2 or 3 keys that you have to hit simultaneously to get that, and you doing that on a cell phone. Now, I'm not saying he did, but I'm just saying. Can't say that he can't. But if he did, what? Like,
do you know how wild it is? You seen the meme of the dude that, like, I guess he was like in this big tower with all these cables, and they were like, when you lie on your application and, you actually get the job. is that the equivalent of this? Like, homie don't know what to do, so he's like, bruh,
ChatGPT, should we bomb these people?
Bruh, if I wanted to bomb the Houthis in Yemen, what would be the best way to do it? Please lay out a plan that I can send to my team. Sure, we'd be glad to do it for you.
And my only hope, if he is using ChatGPT,
bruh,
that I hope that he is using a paid plan.
Bruh,
and he's just not out here using public models to figure out how we rage in war in Yemen.
Right. That might be why he did. They had to go to the group chat because maybe on his free plan he had ran out of responses, so he had to wait till he
had to wait till re-up.
Yep. And read up. He was like, "I'll get back with y'all at 2:58." They're like, "Hey, that's an exact time." Yeah, that's when that's how I get my free.
I get my free calls.
My free nights and weekends on ChatGPT.
So that I'm just like, Pete.
Hey,
Pete. If you struggling, say something, man. Just like,
hey, man. You know,
the first step to correcting a problem is admitting that you have one.
Hey.
And I'm not talking about any drug habit that he or may not have. He may just be struggling trying to figure out how to run this. You know, the Department of Defense is a big organization, and that's why you normally don't see commentators running the organization.
It ain't like that diss you had over at Fox News.
But this is getting. You mentioned it before. This is getting real hairy for the administration and just not a good look. Mm-hmm. So if you look at like another associated event that happened this week that I won't say is directly linked, but like it's hurting the administration is, oh God, what's her name? Stefanski. Wanting to originally being appointed to be the U.S. representative at the United Nations. But her nomination had been pulled because they want her to stay in the House. And I heard this immediately, and I was like, well, that's weird. Because I hadn't heard anything as if she wouldn't get approved. Now, in further reading of some articles and news, like it was going to be a tough one. But you know, none to seem to indicate that it was going to be impossible or that it was a hard no. Because hell, if you got Pete through, you should be able to get her. But then reports started coming out around the concern of the administration of the margins in the House, and they're close. We're talking 3 votes. The fact that rate was raised as a concern should be a very problematic for the Republicans. Because in New York 21 is a strong Republican district as drawn. Last time it came through, it was rated a plus R9. And for our listeners at home, that is just how strong it is. If it is a 50-50 district, it's going to be a 0. It's not
Yeah.
either side. So we're looking at +9. You're looking at Republicans taking 59 to 60 plus. I think Stefanski, she won with about 63%. I feel like that was the number she won it with. Last go round. So, sorry, 62%. But you're talking now that you're concerned about losing a +9 district. Like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
And
Now,
I think some of those concerns, though, Manny, are being amplified because you mentioned it in previous episodes that they have upcoming special elections in Florida. So what if, I don't know the plus or minus on those districts, but let's say that one of those go their way. Now you're talking about if we take a lease out and we end up carrying this in and we lose it, now we're really in a tight spot because the margin is only what I think 218 to 213 or something
about
like that.
3 votes. Yep.
Yeah. So it's tight. So I think the pressure that they are uncertain of, which is wild to think, they're uncertain about Florida and leading this and rolling into this 21st district in New York. They're concerned, man. And I think that we're seeing you see these town halls, you see people that are outraged and that are speaking up, and they've downplayed, and I've heard Mike Johnson say it before that these are paid people that the left is just getting to go and make a mockery of things that are going on and be performative and do all these things, but it's like no, some of this it might be something to it, especially in a move like this with allowing her pulling her nomination out so that you can somehow preserve what little margin that you do have. I think is telling.
And for the record, we are not paid to be here. In fact, I would love to hop on this pod one day and say, you know what, this administration is doing a great job. I want that for us.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I want it for the country. But that's just not been the case.
Yeah.
And I think about it's just so crazy. I realize special elections, random things happen, and you could lose seats. That could be it too. But +9 is, I would say anything above a 5 is pretty close to automatic. So I think that's an issue. But circling back to, sorry for that. Thank you everyone for indulging me on that sidebar. But going back to it, what if Mike is trying to set up Pete? You and I had talked about it in the group chatter when this happened. Like, what if he is really just trying to set him up?
Hey, bro.
And try to show him as incompetent and like have people questioning why he would put this information in here, because now at this point we're talking solely about Pete Hegseth, even though it was Mike Waltz who started the group chat.
Yeah. And I think that, in this incident, we saw that a judge ordered that they preserve the messages between it was a period of days. I can't remember what the exact days were, but just for investigation purposes, there's been calls of maybe they're doing this so somehow they can get away from the there's some act, I can't even remember the name of it. God, I should have wrote it down, but where you have to preserve these documents as for national intelligence in case anything needs to be looked at, even down to just are they going to actually even be any investigations into these things. And I think that you see a lot of calls for Hegseth to resign from the Democrats. You've seen it. The Republicans seem to be of support of him, but there's a lot of people, and I think there's more investigation they want to see, because they're saying, okay, well, if this is one thing, how many other things are going on that we don't know that he's running through ChatGPT and carrying on?
Well, just so everyone knows, after I found out about this, I went searching for Mr. Hegseth and Mr. Waltz on Signal, because I was going to try to add them to my group chat. And let me tell you, Pod, had I been able to do that, boy, I would have been tickled.
Bruh.
But shout out to Goldberg being the responsible party here. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to leave. Not me. Oh, no.
He's
I'd have
better
stayed
than me.
I'd have stayed back there and been
Boy.
real. I'd have been just like
Quiet
Tulsi.
as I would have been quiet as a church mouse.
But I ain't got nothing to say.
Bruh, I would have changed. He way better than me. I would have changed my name. I would have changed. I would have had a picture but they would have thought I was really somebody else for real, for real. I would have been in there.
Barron Trump.
That's how I. Oh, bro, definitely. I definitely would have been Barron. Because I want. That's why I want to know how and what point and how did they find out that he was in there? Now, did he announce that he was in there? Because if he did and they found out, that's even more wilder. That you you didn't even realize it. He was like, "Hey, y'all know I'm here, right?" Oh man, how you get in here?
Or I wonder if he just left and everyone's like, "Who's that?"
Oh yeah, they seen that name. It was like,
damn.
And to your point that you said before, it might be a joint effort to get rid of Hegseth, because I got a feeling that Tulsi not saying nothing was very calculated, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that she didn't say nothing just because she had nothing to say. Because I think she realized it was like, man, these fools done added Goldberg in here. Or so she was like, I'm gonna let it fly. Because she could have probably said something and been like, hey, y'all know that so and so's in here, right? Or they all just got together and was like, yo, make the group chat. Because it could be that Walsh was like, he might have walked in Pete Hegseth office and saw that man running through plans. He saw that ChatGPT up on his monitor and was like, oh yeah, no, he got to go. He got to go. I'll fall on the sword and make the group, but we got to expose him because they got to see these double hashes. They got the world got to see this. And I think that is something that may be there because, you know, when you look at Goldberg and what he was saying, he was like, there's a reason why he got my contact. There's a reason that Goldberg, I ain't saying nothing.
And I don't think it is strange that an official that high would have the editor-in-chief's phone number to be able to contact. Like, that's not shocking to me. When I ran in 2018, I had and still have to this several reporters' information in my phone.
Yeah, it's not unusual.
It's not unusual.
Yeah,
but this is a bad look, man. This just looks messy.
So I got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Do you think that do you think Hegseth is going to lose his job? Is this the beginning of the end?
It might be. And we're going to get to it later. But I would assume, and this is a bad thing to do, to assume anything with this administration, but I assume that if the U.S. is really thinking about popping off at Iran at this point, then
we can't have somebody using ChatGPT.
We can't have someone using ChatGPT, but then also, like, you don't want that level of instability. How are you going to get another person through confirmation? It just becomes rough. So I don't see it immediately. Not that it won't happen, but I think this is still a strike.
Oh,
Because one thing Uncle Donnie does not like happening is him to be standing up in front of reporters and being surprised by a question.
He don't want to be surprised.
Don't surprise
him. Definitely don't do that to make him look bad. Well, I'm gonna say this I'm gonna say this as Shannon Sharp would say: Signalgate, Wingate, Coldgate, all 10 seasons of Stargate. Hegseth gone in 5.
Is that 5 days, 5 weeks, or 5 months?
I don't know. It could be 5 days, could be 5 weeks, could be 5 months. Hegseth in 5. But we will see. Are they done with these hearings? Are they still? I mean,
this is going to be the new email thing.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the Democrats' version of the email.
Hold on, wait a minute though. Yeah, I was just about to say. Now, didn't they drag all them coals over Hillary Clinton about them emails?
Drag her up and down, round and round.
But Donnie wanted to say that this ain't serious. Now, wait a minute now.
I mean, let's just at least the thing that I always will call for: be consistent.
Be consistent, bro.
In your belief structure.
Yep.
If you are upset about government classified information being communicated in non-government devices. If you had an issue when Hillary did it, you should have an issue now.
Should be an issue then.
But the flip side, if you were from the Hillary standpoint, didn't have an issue with it now,
don't have an issue.
Don't have an issue with it. So be consistent in your belief.
We see that goalpost get moved all the time.
I believe that all government communications should be encrypted through the stuff that's run by our government.
Yep.
Not consumer third party apps.
Who owns Signal?
I don't know. Russia? No, I have no idea. I have no idea. I have no. That is a great question.
we got to find the answer to that. I'm curious now that you say that. I'm curious because if we use it and it's owned by somebody from Kazakhstan.
So Signal is a subsidiary of the Signal Technology Foundation, a nonprofit organization established in 2018 by Moxie Malinspike and Brian Actor.
Okay.
Yeah, it was founded with $50 million loan from Acton, who co-founded WhatsApp and left Facebook in 2017.
Okay.
So the nonprofit structure ensures that Signal remains focused on user privacy without commercial incentives to monetize user data.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I can get with that.
Yep.
Well, shout out to Signal. Yeah. And I know that this spotlight has been on you for the week and maybe on you for the coming weeks, but the boys here at the pod would like to thank you for the structure that you provide us.
Yes.
The countless amount of times that we have to verify who we are by putting in our code. That level of security we greatly appreciate. So though the nation may be questioning why your app is being used, the boys here at the pod do not question us at all because you serve us well.
Serve us very well.
So thank you and shout out to Signal. So with that being said, that is all we have now for Signalgate. Maybe there may be more to come. Maybe there may be more group chats. Now, if this thing started going downhill and we find out that they go to Group Me, WhatsApp, they start using Facebook Messenger. Somebody got to go.
Somebody's got to go.
Somebody got to go. So that is it for Signalgate. So moving over to our next topic. Of course, in a week of chaos with Signalgate, Big Donnie had to get some attention because
had to get that Sharpie ain't moving in a couple hours. He got to get it going.
What's a week without the Sharpie, bro? No rest for the Sharpies whatsoever. So on March the 27th, President Donald Trump signed, you guessed it, another executive order. And this executive order was titled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. And in this executive order, he is directing significant changes to the Smithsonian institutions, exhibits, and programs. And in this order, he mandates the removal of what the administration deems improper, divisive, and anti-American ideology. So in this executive order, one of the first things that he targeted was the National Museum of African American History and Culture. So what do you feel about this, Manny?
You know what? I'm just going to come out with it immediately. If you look historically, authoritarian governments, one of the first things they try to do is rewrite history.
Yep.
So it's immediately concerning from that.
Yeah.
And then history is not always supposed to make you feel good.
Yeah.
Like, we've all made mistakes. Like, if you look at your own personal lives, we've all made mistakes. We've all done things that we are not proud of to some degree. We all have done things that if you replay it now, we respond to it differently, or we make a different decisions. Also, at the end of it, based on societal norms, some things are no longer acceptable. So to take a 2025 eye
Yeah.
to look at all of American history, while we have done some fantastic things, we have also done some really horrible things to a
Yeah.
lot of people. And if you only look at the good, you will miss the lessons of
Yep.
the wrong.
Yep.
And it's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all that being said, Trump is a hater. Sorry. So to not only go at, so what is projected is that the Museum for African American History and Culture definitely going to be impacted. The Smithsonian Art Museum is going to be impacted, as well as the American Women's History Museum. And I'm just like, are you that scared? Are you that uncomfortable with the reality of history?
Well,
And I think the answer is yes.
Yeah. And the thing for me, you make a good point. With history, and it's weird to me because we, for instance, all of this is, to me, is just ridiculous. But when I think of the African American Museum, right? I've gone, I'm sure you've gone multiple times. And one thing that has been very prideful to me, not just of the history of our people, but what I love and what surprised me the first time, but it just warms my heart, is to see the amount of white people that go to the African American Museum and are intentional about the knowledge of what African American people went through, not as a anti-patriot or anti-American ideology, but you learn so much through the history of what we've been through. And I think that is pivotal to understand how we can bridge the gap and not be so divided in this nation. And it's weird for me, this take that Trump is taking, because in his first administration, 2017, he went and actually toured the African American Museum. And after he visited the museum, he spoke of wanting to be a president that bridges the gap and that brings all Americans together, and that he understands what the African American people have been through, and he wants that to be something that cultivates not just something of a belonging to America, not just for African Americans, but for all Americans. And in doing that, I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. But then you, in your next term, you pull this move on not just the African Americans, but on women as well too. And it's like, I think about, for instance, the Bible. And if you're familiar with reading the Bible, the Old Testament is the history of Christianity. Mm-hmm. Well, you can't necessarily understand the gospel if you negate the history.
Right.
That's you don't go back and say, okay, well, you look at the children of Israel and you say, oh, was Pharaoh really that bad? Like, come on, like,
right.
that you can't reshape history and still somehow think that you can move forward with the future, with what is going on now. So to me, everything just seems divisive. And I know that they say things like, for the African American Women's History Museum, that they want to ensure that it does not recognize men as women or refer to transgender women. But it's like, I'm sorry, but when I hear certain stuff like that, like, is that really what you're concerned with? Or are you just trying to reshape history? Because America doesn't look good when it comes to the history of what women have had to gone through to be able to have the rights that they have. African Americans have not been able to, if you go in and reshape, because what is anti-patriot? If you go to African American Museum, there's pictures of black people hanging with white people smiling and pointing at these bodies hanging. Are you considering that anti-American? Because it happened.
Right. Here in America.
It happened here in America. So how is it what is anti-American? Is it because anything that you say that is negative, is that anti? I don't understand the motive of what we're trying to do in an executive order like this, and then to say that all this has to run through JD Vance and he has to, I guess, clear whatever things they're going to put in these. He oversees the changes across not just these museums, but 51 museums, and they're even doing stuff with the National Zoo too. It's like I'm not understanding.
Well, I think Westmore, the governor of Maryland, said it best, that loving your country doesn't mean lying about its history.
Oh, bro, that's a bar. Shout out to West.
And I think there is something very unique about the American experience and looking at how we've been this giant melting pot for centuries at this point.
Yeah.
And that all comes from how different that we all are.
Yeah.
There is a comedian, I forget the comedian's name. He was like, America's diversity is one of the reasons why we dominate every 4 years at the Olympics.
Bingo.
because we hone everyone brings a little bit part of them here to this country and excels at it. And that's why when you have a big thing and we're operating as a united front, we're able to deploy different people. There's a reason why you have an Air Force in the Navy.
Yeah.
There's a difference why you have a Coast Guard and a Marines. Like, everything has its own purpose. And if you are that uncomfortable by reading it and seeing these images of the reality of what people had to live through America, imagine what the people who had to actually live through it felt.
Yeah.
And to say everything is, I think one of the things that they're going through, for them to say, hey, everything is not about race. And I agree, not everything is about race. But when you look at the history of politics in this country and government and laws, there are very few things that you can't tie to an impact of race or gender.
Yeah, and I think that is, for one, everything this comment or this statement of everything isn't about race wouldn't be a statement if you kept kicking the can down the road, acknowledging how race has played a part in all of these things.
Yeah.
The acknowledgement is what is holding us from moving forward, because it still plays out to this day. The things that people felt systematically back then, the oppression that people felt back then, it still happens today, but it just changes form.
Right.
So we're not acknowledging, and I think that to me, what is American, what makes me proud to be an American, is not necessarily waving a flag or, you know, having "God Bless America" on back of my vehicle, or a flag. You know, none of that matters to me. What makes me proud to be an American is understanding the melting pot that we have as a nation, and in that melting pot, understanding what you have been through. Not necessarily maybe you directly, but what your people have, how you have been impacted indirectly, having empathy for that, and going forward, changing my viewpoint so that I understand how we can be allies together, and that what I do can help and impact you so that we all can get somewhere.
Right.
That to me is what it means to be an American, having an understanding. But if you're going to go and wipe out that certain things didn't happen, and it wasn't like that, and slavery wasn't that bad, or these people, they didn't, even though it was slavery, if it hadn't been for slavery, they wouldn't have learned how to farm. Like, bro, what? But Frederick Douglass said something that if you wanted to keep something from a black person, you put it in a book. And I think what you have now, what is so instrumental, what is driving this force of trying to change so much, is that, to the point I was saying earlier about when you go to the African American Museum, there's darn no more white people than there is black people. I think that people are waking up and realizing things and are having hard conversations that are uncomfortable for some people that want to stay
That are decades
in
overdue.
decades overdue, because you got kids now where, you know, I've seen it growing up in rural North Carolina, eastern North Carolina. There are certain families that I grew up that I knew still had that ideology that we don't fool with black people. We don't like black people, we hate black people. And then I remember one of my best friends, one of my closest friends in high school, his I think his dad was like that, but me and him ended up becoming best friends. And that kind of made his situation at home uncomfortable, because then he had to have some real conversations because, Dad, you said that black people are this, black people are that, black people are this, but these black people embrace me. They don't have no problem that I'm white. I can come over to them. I can go over to his house and his mama treats me just as, you know, she fixes me a plate and we laugh. And ain't no problem. So then I got to come back to you and say, well, why do we hate these black people? And you don't have a legitimate reason why. You holding on to an ideology that is anti-American.
Yep.
So now you have this generation of kids that don't play this game.
Right. Tell me why.
And now that exposes the, I'm gonna say it this way, they expose the sin in them. And when they exposes the sin in them, that's when it's like, all right, we got to change something. We just got to wipe it away.
You know, ain't nothing like when you start feeling your own personal conviction to your own
bro.
sin.
Oh, bro. when you got to look like Michael Jackson and look at that man in the mirror. And they don't want to have those conversations. And the crazy thing, man, it's an easy conversation to have because everybody knows that you're wrong already. It's just you having to admit it. That's just like the saying. God already know that you're wrong. You just got to admit that you're wrong.
You are the last one to get here for the surprise party.
Yep. And that's it.
And that's it. It's okay. You were here last.
They can't live with the sins of their forefathers. And that is that's hindering America from moving forward. So it's not that it's got to be race about everything. It's that you won't acknowledge how you've used race in everything and stop using it so that we can move forward. That doesn't play a factor at all.
Right.
So when you say, if you want to go and look at merit, if you want to go off of education, if you want to go off all those things, first you need to remove the race out of that you keep putting in it so that we can move forward. But you're not going to do it by sitting here trying to remove these things, because guess what? It's still out there.
Still out there.
You can't rewrite. You could try to rewrite history, but there's always going to be someone that knows something. And I think at this point now, you shared enough. The doctrine and the ways that things have happened in this country have been shared enough that I don't think that you're going to be able to go about this process of trying to rewrite history and make it as if America never had anything, no bloodshed on their hands.
And there's one other thing that the executive order does that I want us to also call out. It also commissions that a lot of the Confederate statues that had been torn down go back up. And this might be my controversial take on the Confederate statues, so we'll see how this one goes over. Reality, in my head, there are two types of Confederate statues. There are ones that went up, I would say, pre-1900.
Yeah.
That are really just they're statues to Confederate people that were really just trying to honor them. And then you have the statues that were put up during the Civil Rights Movement, the 50s, that were truly just used as a sign of intimidation.
Yep.
I think they all should go. But
yeah,
when I say they all should go, I don't mean completely torn down. What I do mean is that they are taken and moved someplace else, because they are still, like we've said about they are still part of history. Yeah. So these people are still part of our history. They need to go to a museum. So yes, this is the history, this is the impact, but tell the complete story, not just a romanticized story in your head. Like, yes, at the end of the day, are the people who served in the Confederate military Americans, yes, that's why one of the first things that Abe Lincoln did was make sure that these people are buried in Arlington National Cemetery to try to bring everyone back together.
Yeah.
But yeah, aren't there more important things that we need to be dealing with? Like,
It is. But I think that there's such a demand by into certain individuals that deem themselves as patriots to get this to get ahead of this. And I think that when you and I'm not gonna cue it up, but with my conspiracy theory is that when you look at the demographics of our races in this country, I think that when you see the dwindling number of a particular group, and then in that group, how many people are supportive of this ideology, I think that there's a sweeping movement of something needs to be done quick, so that things can be done and we can preserve the history that we want, not the history that is truly realistic or the complete and honest truth. So I think that's why this is so important for them to do and do now.
yeah.
So, but man, I hate it because I truly love the if for our
That's a
listeners,
fantastic.
if you've
First of
never
all,
been,
the Smithsonian across every subject matter, they
facts.
have a way of showcasing every exhibit that I've seen from them, be it that, just the history of the presidents, Air and Space Museum. Like, they do a fantastic job of telling history in a emotional but factual way.
When the times that I have went to the African American Museum, it was very touching to me, and I walked away with stuff that I didn't even know. That I would go home later and research and look up, and so I would encourage anyone, not just the African American Museum, but to Manny's point, any museum within the Smithsonian's Institute. Please, please, please make sure that you go and check them out. I look forward to. I don't believe the American Women's History Museum has
Not
been
yet.
built yet, but I definitely want to go there. I just hope that it hasn't been tainted with this executive order by the time it comes in. Also, I don't know if it's within the Smithsonian's category, but if you ever get a chance, the Museum of the Bible is very good too. I went this past week, and bro,
I heard it's really good.
It's 6 floors. I was there for 3 hours, and I only made it through 2 floors. And I will say I rushed through those 2 floors. Like, it is so much information. And just the imagery, the immersive things that they have. It is fantastic. So I would just encourage anybody to go to DC and really enjoy the work that the Smithsonian Institute has done. The Bible Museum, the African American, the Holocaust Museum is really great.
Yeah.
It's so much. So as a history nerd, for me, I hate to see that there's anything that could potentially taint the great work that has been done in these museums. And I just really hope that that stuff is preserved, and hopefully there is no true blanketing of the truth of what has taken place in this country, because it is important for us to understand where we've been, to understand where we're going.
Yeah.
So,
and then just for our listeners, the women's the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum is currently in the planning phase, and it is not slated to open earlier than 2030. So we got about 5-6 years. There. Yeah.
So we might have that executive order might not make it through when you have another administration coming in. So we'll see. But that is our coverage of that executive order, and we will keep you updated on anything that changes with that. So with that being said, we are at that favorite time of the episode, and that is our pickle of the week.
We've got your pickle. We've got your pickle.
All right, all right, all right. So, our
Who's in a
pickle
brine?
of the week. So, um, our pickle of the week isn't going to be one person. It is going to be a collective, and
Oh
that
man,
that collective is the U.S. public health. So all of us,
back in the brine.
all of us are back in the brine. But it was reported that well, there's been some significant changes at the HHS with Bobby running things. And while Bobby hasn't been too bad, there's been some things that we have said that we have agreed on. There was another cut to reduce the workforce. And the workforce, they cut approximately 10,000 full-time employees. So the total now has went from beginning to end with this extra 10,000 has now gone the department has gone from 82,000 to 62,000 employees. And additionally, the number of divisions within the HHS has been consolidated. They had 28 divisions. They're now 15. So, and regional offices have been reduced from 10 regional offices to 5. So with these reductions, there was also reported this week that the resignation of the FDA's top vaccine official. So Dr. Peter Marks, the leading vaccine official for the Food and Drug Administration, resigned abruptly, citing that Bobby's misinformation and lies about vaccine. He was like, bro, I can't do this. Now, if you're familiar in the health world, Dr. Marks, he was known for his role in Operation Warp Speed, where he expressed concerns that undermining confidence in vaccines pose a danger to public health. And I want us to understand that with these changes, and again, some things Bobby has said we've agreed with, but
Right.
some things haven't. He's been kind of, I don't know where he stands on vaccines. It sounds like at one time he's cool with them, then he's not. Then they ask if he'll get his kids vaccinated. He'll be like, yeah. And then he'll say, well, then no, I wouldn't. Then he rehired Marco Elise, which was formerly dismissed. He was dismissed previously from the Treasury Department over his racial social media posts. Well, then he rejoined the administration, and he was detailed. Detailed to work for the HHS. So now he has access to sensitive systems like child support, Medicare, Medicaid, and HHS contacts. So that's been a raise and concern. And then you have a bunch of outbreaks going on. The measles. We have
We don't need any people to help with that. We good.
yeah, we
We'll figure it
apparently.
out.
But we're experiencing a severe measles outbreak. We have at this point of recording the pod, 483 confirmed cases across 21 states, with Texas being the most affected, reporting 400 infections. Particularly in Gaines County, they got 270. So if we got any listeners in Texas, specifically in Gaines County, you can call the pod and give us a on the ground reporting.
Right.
Of the outbreak. And they've had 2 deaths actually too in Texas from it. So majority of those that are affected are between the age of 5 and 19, which is concerning for us with young children. And nearly 97% of them are unvaccinated. So when you think about, just from a public health perspective, having someone that we don't know his clear stance on vaccinations, this measles outbreak that is going on, there being a new case of influenza that's going on. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a fever outbreak going on in Argentina, and another virus disease going on in Rwanda. It's just very concerning from a public health perspective. And I pray that we are not on the verge of a more serious outbreak. And I'm not saying measles isn't, but just something of the magnitude of what we went through with the pandemic. And do we have the right people in place to handle those things? So with summer coming up,
let's hope we don't find out. But
I hope we don't find out. But with summer coming up, and the weather's breaking, and people will be outside more, and that means that venues and places will be occupied at higher numbers. From a public's health perspective, I think we should be very concerned. So
yeah.
I'm not a doctor. I know I used to watch a doctor on TV named Bill Nye, so I don't know if that qualifies me for anything. But I would say, whether you are vaccinated, unvaccinated, whatever is your choice. I would just say, from a public health perspective, with us being in a pickle, I would just say do whatever you need to do to make sure that you and your family are safe. Primarily your children. I have a young daughter, and a teenager, and if you're a parent like me, it tears you up to have your kids sick, especially when they're in spaces where they're playing, they're in school, they're at playgrounds, they're so social, but also they run the risk of potentially just getting sick, and that's never fun for anybody. So please make sure you do what's necessary as we move into these warmer seasons. So
yeah.
That is all for our pickle of the week. Wash your hands. If you sick, stay home.
Stay home.
I never understand that. I work in a corporate job, and literally what I do in my office, I can do at home. And for some reason, these people that work in the office love to come to work sick. So they know in my job, everybody has a 2 cough, 2 sneeze maximum. If I hear you cough more than twice and I hear you sneeze, I will report you so fast.
I'm snitching.
I am the whistleblower. I am the snitch. I am whatever you want to call it. But I did it one time. This guy didn't believe me. As soon as I left his office, I went right to the director. I was like, yeah, no, he got to go. He ended up dying.
He said we ain't got time for it.
So that is our pickle of the week. So as we are at the end of this episode, you guys already know that we love to bring you our spotlights of the week. So Manny, what you got? What you got as a spotlight, brother?
Well, what will likely be a future pickle, and bringing back one of our throwback pickles, our good people in Iran have been alerted by Mr. Trump. He was on Meet the Press and said, essentially, in regards to the nuclear deal with Iran, if they don't make a deal, there will be bombing. And I said, well, this can't be good. Because if you take that and you couple that with some other news that's come out of the region, the U.S. is moving some resources. So the U.S. has started setting up its B-2 stealth bombers. And for those of you who don't know, B-2s are the ones that look like the wing and basically can drop tactical nukes. So, yes, and all those are being built up on the Indian Ocean. I think somebody said there's over 20% of the U.S.'s fleet of stealth B-2 bombers there. Yeah, so it's not looking good, as well as 2 aircraft carriers are now moving into the Indian Ocean. So signs are pointing to this could heat up. We've seen Iran kind of loosely respond, showcasing some of their military. The island that all these bombers are on are a British island that we use that are technically outside of the range of Iranian intercontinental ballistic missiles. So, yeah, this is a situation we should be probably watching very closely, because it's getting hot. Between that, the situation in Yemen, the restarting situation in Israel with the Gaza Strip, the Middle East is heating up, man.
The block is hot,
very hot. And some people need to get on the sidewalks, because these streets ain't for everybody.
Get on the sidewalk.
Get on the sidewalk, man. That's all. Honestly, that's all I want everyone to do. Everyone just get on the sidewalk. Let's get out the streets, man. Let's get out the streets. Please. But that is what I'm watching this week. Okay. Yeah. What about you? What do you got?
Well, for me, my spotlight of the week is on a situation that we spoke about earlier, but in a previous episode. But there's a student by the name, and I may butcher her name, so my apologies. But Ramiza Uz Turk is a 30-year-old Turkish national, and is a Fulbright scholar and PhD candidate in child study and human development at Tufts University in Massachusetts. She was on March 25th detained by plainclothes U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement, or ICE, Asian agents near her residence in Massachusetts while she was en route to have dinner. And there was security footage that shows 6 officers, some of them masked, surrounding and handcuffing her. And she was placed in a ICE detention facility in Louisiana, despite, which is wild to me, despite a court order to keep her in Massachusetts. So if you guys remember, we spoke previously about, I believe his name was Mahmoud Khalil.
Yep.
That was detained. And basically, we now have another individual. Her F1 student visa was revoked, alleging her involvement in activities supporting Hamas, though there has been no evidence that has been publicly provided. So her detention is reportedly linked to a 2024 opt-in that she co-authored in the university newspaper, advocating, and this is what they're saying now, she was advocating for the recognition of Palestinian genocide and divestment from companies tied to Israel. So because of that, and we said this before, here we go again.
Here we go.
Somebody just opposing what the country's doing. This isn't Hamas propaganda. She's speaking about the recognition of the Palestinian genocide that some are identifying as taking place in Gaza, and because of this, she was detained. And not only that, I think this is odd too, and this could be something for the tinfoil hat community. But why do they keep putting them in the ICE detention center in Louisiana? Because that's where Mahmoud was put to, and neither one of these individuals are from those areas. They weren't in those areas when they were captured. She had a court order that she was supposed to remain in Massachusetts, but they ignored the court order and took her to Louisiana anyway. So I'm just wondering what is the reason for that one. There's a detention center in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm sure that between Massachusetts and Louisiana, there has to be some other ones.
At least one.
At least one. So I just wonder, what is the significance of putting them there? And I'm just gonna say, by tinfoil is maybe there's some stuff going on there to try to to make an example. I'll just put it that way. But this young lady, no prior convictions, no criminal history. Again, here just for a PhD. I think she did her master's at Columbia. Okay. She did her master, I believe, at Columbia. So it's not like she hasn't been here and hasn't done, her education. She's a outstanding student, working towards her doctorate. But here we are having someone that opposes the country and their stance on what they're supporting that's going on in Gaza, and this person's now detained in ICE. And from what I gather, Mahmoud is still locked up too.
It's still there. Yep.
So, and I believe when we talked last time, his fiance was like 8 months pregnant.
Yep.
So I'm assuming that potentially he has missed the birth of his child.
Yeah. Or he's getting ready to.
Over a situation that, in my opinion, is wrong, and that some view is wrong as well. So that's my spotlight for the week of what will transpire. I would love for them, and like Candace Owens said, if they have done these things, then release the information that you have that shows us this, and that falls on deaf ears. We haven't seen anything, and I just think that from a human being perspective, I think that we all should be able to agree that this is not right at all. So more to come on that. We'll see how that goes, how that works out. If these individuals are released, I would love to hear what took place in their detention, because I just got a feeling that they're being made examples of, and this is not how we should be operating as a country. So that is all that I have. That is the end of our episode, brother.
Before we get out of here, we would be remiss if
Oh, yes.
we didn't discuss the earthquake in Myanmar and Thailand. As at the time of recording, there's at least 1,700 people that have lost their lives due to this disaster. So definitely thoughts and prayers to everyone out there. Again, the site we're always going to direct you guys to is the American Red Cross. They're not only at work here in America but overseas. Myanmar is one of the poorer countries in the region.
Yeah.
So the resources for them to be able to address and help the people look vastly different than what they look like here in the United States. So obviously recovery is going to take a long time. But yeah, thoughts and prayers to there who are experiencing loss, still trying to find the missing and the people that are trapped there. May God look over them and protect them. So
yeah, unfortunate circumstance, and as always, our thoughts and our prayers go out to those affected. I believe that the United Nations has already allocated $5 million for immediate relief efforts. However,
5 million or 5 billion?
No, 5 million.
Boy, what they gonna do with 5 million? Never mind. Never mind.
I know.
I'm gonna let him go. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Thanks for the money.
Thank you. But however, the access to affected areas remain challenging because they, as you can see in some of the videos, and as Manny stated, with them being one of the poorer countries in the region, the infrastructure is damaged. There's ongoing conflict, so this just kind of just happened at the most inopportune time. So. Hopefully, there will be some type of recovery and some type of relief that will be given to them as quick as possible. So shout out. So we definitely have our thoughts and prayers to them. So with that being said, that is the end of our episode. We want to thank you for tuning in, to listening. Again, if there's anything that you would like for the boys to cover, hit us up on the social. Let us know. Shout out to all our listeners in the various states in our country here in the United States, as well as those globally that listen to us. I want to shout you all out as well too.
Thank you
for tuning in. Spread the word. Like, share, follow, and we will see you at the next episode. And as always, I almost forgot. If don't nobody love you, just know that the boys here.
Boys here. We love y'all.
We love y'all. We appreciate you. And hopefully this episode finds you in the best possible spirit that is good for you. And we just want to thank you for tuning in. So I'm good. All hearts and minds clear. You good, my brother?
All hearts and minds clear, man.
All right. We'll see y'all the next episode. Take care, world.
Bye.